Hey everyone, welcome back. We've got a little streamer for you today. It's a simple little leech imitation, but really kind of a bait fish as well. Could be a crawdad, kind of an attractor streamer. This is the Pig Pen Leech. It's a pretty simple build overall, pretty traditional materials, but really a cool functionality in tying, using some dubbing loops and whatnot, and a fun one to tie. Also a cool one to fish. It's a conehead bug, so it's got a little bit of weight to it. It's good on its own with a sinking tip line in some rivers if you needed a full sinking line in some lakes or in some deep fishing situations. And runs good as a tandem fly as well if you're up for throwing a dual streamer rig. So it's a cool one to have, and we'll spin one up today. This fly, we're using a fun hook today. It's an AvidMax hook. It's their Trout Predator TP610. It's a nice streamer hook. We're doing a size 2. Pretty stout hook, straight eye, straight shank, good size bend. It is barbed. You can always get rid of that if you're fishing for trout. We definitely recommend that in most situations, especially on a big hook like this. We don't need that barb, and we'll be a little bit easier on our fish. Gonna get our thread started. I do have a conehead on here. I'm fishing a tungsten conehead, or tying with a tungsten conehead to fish this fly, so it adds a good bit of weight there. And then we have our UTC tan. This is 70. Get away with 140 as well, but 70 does the job nicely here. And that thread was frayed a little bit, so I'm just going to walk back over it and clean it up before we get going into tying our tail. And our tail is one of those classic tails using some Marabou. I'm going to tie with a couple of colors today. We got our burnt orange color, which is an amazing bright attractor color, and then I have some rusty brown to sandwich the orange with, and that just adds some realistic, more earthy tone to the fly and makes for some great contrast as well. I'm going to go ahead and prep these feathers by stripping off the majority of the material from the quill. That way we can tie in a few of them together and still have a nice tail on it. Using the tip. Those tend to be the best feathers on these Marabou quills. And then, like I said, we're just going to sandwich the orange in between, so I tend to hold them in my fingertips here and try and get those tips aligned as best as I can. One right on top of the other. You could always tie them in separately as well. Might save you a little time fumbling with these. We'll pinch them all together, measure out about the length of our shank, and secure that right on the back here. And we'll do a few wraps around, just making sure that that's locked in place. And then what I like to do is pull the material forward a bit, figure out where that bead's at, and I can clip right there, and that'll help me keep a nice taper underbody, kind of builds a little bit of bulk underneath to work on top of as we build the rest of this pattern. So we'll just make sure that that's nice and secure, not coming free. And then we're going to tag on a little flash. This is some Semper Flash. It's the 1/32 Mirror Orange. So a fun fall color. It's a good time of year to fish this coloration. And these work great as a little crawdad if you hit it during the right molt season when they're that orangish color. But you can also tie up some bait fish colors, you can do some darker colors, a lot to play around with on this fly. We'll secure that on one side, right around the length of the tail, maybe just short of that, and then we can fold that over and secure it down and match that right on the other side and clip that out. And then we're ready for our primary body material here with a nice big double loop. So we're going to do some hair. These are the cross-cut rabbit strips and the gold variant. So pretty traditional coloration for this pig pen leech. And on this first dub loop, I'm going to make a pretty big dubbing loop, but I'm not going to try and go all the way to the end because I want to make sure that I have a ton of material worked into this fly from here forward. So we'll do a dubbing loop and I'll prepare a rabbit hide, and then we'll repeat the process as we go forward. So to prepare the hair, I like to use my table, my tying mat, and I lay it out flat and then massage and manipulate all that hair, trying to get it to come 90 degrees off of the hide. And you can use a little bit of wax or water or saliva to help position that to be added into your dubbing loop. If you do a little bit of this front end work, it makes it easier to get it in there. And you can also clear out some of that under fur that might be undesirable otherwise. And we'll clip it to length. And I'm going to bring it right on up. I'm going to open up my dubbing loop. Slide it in, trying to keep everything nice and even. And then trapping that in place. You can play with the length of it. You sort of want it centered. And then we'll pinch our thread together, trying to keep that snug in the loop, and then come through and clip off our hide. We want to keep that material trapped in there. And then you can move it around to where you need it and try and keep it nice and even. And then we're going to get it ready to spin. And I like to pinch the bottom of my thread of my dubbing loop, spin my tool quite a few times before I release it and let it all spin together. That'll help keep from trapping some of those longer fibers that you want sticking out. Make sure our tail's not all trapped and wrapped up in there. And then you can come in with a comb as well and tease all of those fibers out. You don't want to take too much out, but you want to maneuver some of it to look nice and full. And then we can come back through and start to wrap that forward. And as we go forward, we're just going to sort of pull that material rearward as we go with some touching tight wraps on forward. And again, as we get going here, I'm not worried about making it all the way to the end. I'm more focused on a nice full body right now, as we can do as many dubbing loops as we need to finish this fly. Typically it's going to be 2. You can get to that halfway point here, and then bring our thread back and capture that off, and we will repeat that process one more time. So again, make a nice big dubbing loop, plenty of thread to work with here. Take our thread up behind the cone and half hitch that out, and then redo another round of rabbit, one of our favorite materials here at the shop, and definitely widely used in fly tying for good reason. It's going to move and pulsate in the water real nice. And that just fishes great in a lot of different patterns and tying techniques. on this section, since I'm going to be finishing it behind that bead, I do like the bottom of the dubbing loop to be nice and thick. Get a lot of material up on that front end. We'll spin it just like we did on the back. Comb out our hair again, brush it lightly, tease it all up. You can see some of that extra under fur breaking free. And now we can wrap that forward. Work that material rearward. And then we're going to cram this all in right behind the bead. It'll help secure the bead a little bit, having a lot of material up and under there. And then it helps with a nice clean finishing. As well. We'll tie her down. Clip out our dubbing loop and whip finish it behind and underneath the cone head. And then you got a nice juicy streamer ready to fish. That's the Pig Pen Leech. Thanks for joining this Tying Tuesday and watching us spin up our pattern today. Stay tuned each week for more videos. Every week we publish a new video. You can hit the bell for the notifications so that you never miss one in the future. Thanks so much.